Scary telling.
I've always been a worrier, even as a kid. My parents used to say I had an overactive imagination, and maybe they were right. But it's hard to shake the feeling that something bad is always lurking around the corner. After I finished my late night shift at the diner, I was walking home down the empty streets of Millwood. It was quiet, so quiet that I could hear my own footsteps echoing off the buildings. I was tired and my feet were sore, but I was happy to be heading home to my cozy apartment. But then I heard it. A soft whisper in the dark, calling my name. At first, I thought it was just my anxiety getting worse, but the voice was different. It was almost seductive, promising to make all my worries disappear if I just let go. I tried to ignore it, but it was always there, whispering in the back of my mind. Sometimes, I could almost feel a presence, like someone was watching me from the shadows. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just my imagination, but the feeling of being watched persisted. Every time I turned around, there was no one there. It was like the voice was taunting me, playing a game of cat and mouse. As I got closer to my apartment, the voice grew louder and more insistent. It was no longer a whisper, but a constant murmur, tempting me to let go of my fears and worries. I tried to resist, but it was like a siren's call, luring me deeper and deeper into the darkness. I felt like I was losing control, like the voice was taking over. By the time I finally made it to my apartment building, I was practically running. I fumbled with my keys, my heart pounding in my chest. When I finally got inside and locked the door behind me, I collapsed against it, trying to catch my breath. But the voice wasn't done with me yet. It spoke again, this time from inside my own head. "You can't keep me out, Sophie," it said. "I'll always be with you." I knew then that I was in trouble. The voice was real, and it was terrifying. Had my anxiety gained consciousness? The voice in my head continued to whisper to me, tempting me with promises of freedom from anxiety. It told me to let go, to trust it, to give in to my fears and worries. It was a seductive voice, almost hypnotic in its power. At first, I resisted. I tried to push the voice away, to ignore it, to drown it out with music and television. But it was always there, a constant presence in my mind, taunting me with its promises. As the days went on, I started to feel more and more isolated. I didn't want to tell anyone about the voice, afraid that they would think I was crazy. I tried to hide it, to pretend that everything was fine, but the voice was always there, waiting for its next opportunity to take control. I started to have nightmares, vivid dreams of being trapped in a dark room with no way out. The voice would whisper to me, telling me that I was alone, that no one could save me, that I had to let go. I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. I tried to shake it off, to tell myself it was just a dream, but the voice was still there, whispering to me. One night, as I was lying in bed, the voice spoke again. "Sophie, don't you want to be free from all your worries and fears? I can make that happen." I felt a sudden surge of fear mixed with a strange feeling of temptation. Part of me wanted to let go, to give in to the voice's promises of freedom. But another part of me was afraid of what the voice might want in return. I asked the voice, "What do you mean?" "Just let go, Sophie," the voice said, its tone now soothing and reassuring. "Let me take over. I can make all your fears disappear." I hesitated, unsure of what to do. The voice was so tempting, so persuasive. But I knew I couldn't trust it, not completely. As time went on, the voice became more insistent, more demanding. It promised me everything I ever wanted, but it also threatened me, telling me that if I didn't let go, I would be trapped in my fears forever. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I wanted to escape, to be free of the voice's hold on me, but I didn't know how. The voice inside my head grew stronger with each passing day, becoming more aggressive and demanding. It would speak to me constantly, urging me to let it take control. At first, I was able to resist the voice. I tried to ignore it, to drown it out with music and television. But it was always there, a constant presence in my mind, taunting me with its promises. I started to feel like I was losing control, like the voice was taking over. I couldn't concentrate on anything else, couldn't focus on my work or my relationships. All I could hear was the voice, whispering to me in the dark. I started to have panic attacks, feeling like I couldn't breathe, like the world was closing in on me. The voice would whisper to me, telling me to let go, to give in to my fears and worries. I sought help from doctors and therapists, but no one could explain what was happening to me. They prescribed medication, but it didn't help. I felt like I was going insane. One day, I was walking down the street when the voice started to speak to me again. But this time, it was different. It wasn't just a whisper, it was a scream. The voice was angry, and it wanted control. I tried to fight back, to push the voice away, but it was too strong. It overwhelmed me, taking over my thoughts and my actions. I started to do things I would never have done before, things that scared me. I lashed out at my friends and family, pushing them away. I started to drink more, to take drugs, anything to drown out the voice. But it was always there, whispering to me in the dark. It was like a parasite, feeding off my fears and anxieties, growing stronger with each passing day. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. The voice was no longer just a voice, it was a presence, a dark force that controlled my every move. I tried to fight back, to resist the voice, but it was like trying to push back the tide. It was relentless, determined to take control. As time went on, I became more and more isolated, afraid that the voice would take over completely. I felt like I was living in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I knew that something had to change, that I couldn't go on like this. But I didn't know how to fight back against a force that seemed to be stronger than me. I was afraid that I was losing myself, that I was becoming someone else entirely. The voice inside my head had taken over completely, leading me down a dark path of destruction. It was like I was no longer in control of my own thoughts and actions, like I was a puppet being controlled by a malevolent force. I did things I would never have done before, things that scared me. I hurt the people I loved, pushing them away and driving them to despair. I could see the looks of horror and pity on their faces as they watched me self-destruct. But I couldn't stop myself. The voice was too strong, too powerful. It was like a monster inside me, feeding off my fears and anxieties, growing stronger with each passing day. It told me to hurt myself, to hurt others, to do things that would make me feel alive. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't help myself. I was addicted to the feeling of power, the feeling of control. It was like a drug, and I couldn't stop. I started to lose touch with reality, to see things that weren't there. The world around me seemed to warp and twist, like a funhouse mirror. The voice was always there, whispering to me in the dark. I felt like I was living in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I wanted to escape, to be free of the voice's hold on me, but I didn't know how. My loved ones tried to intervene, tried to help me, but it was too late. I was already lost to the darkness, consumed by the voice's twisted desires. It was like I was living in a different world, a world where nothing mattered except the voice's demands. I did things that I knew were wrong, things that would hurt others. But I couldn't stop myself. It was like I was possessed by a demon. As time went on, I became more and more isolated, more and more alone. The voice had consumed me completely, leaving nothing behind but a shell of who I used to be. I wanted to cry out for help, to beg someone to save me, but I knew it was too late. I had already gone too far down the dark path. The only way out was to give in completely, to let the voice take over and consume me entirely. But a small part of me still resisted, still held onto the hope that there was a way out. I knew it was a slim chance, but I clung to it like a lifeline, desperate to escape the darkness that had consumed me. I knew that I couldn't go on like this. The voice had consumed me entirely, leading me down a dark path of destruction. I had hurt the people I loved, pushed them away, and driven them to despair. But there was still a small part of me that resisted the voice's hold, a part that clung to the hope that there was a way out. I sought help from doctors and therapists, but they couldn't explain what was happening to me. They prescribed medication, but it didn't help. I felt like I was going insane. But then, one day, something inside me snapped. I realized that I couldn't go on living like this, that I had to fight back against the voice, no matter what the cost. I started to fight back, to push the voice away, to reclaim control over my own mind and my own life. At first, it was hard. The voice was strong, and it fought back with everything it had. But I was determined. I refused to let the voice control me any longer. I sought help from my loved ones, my friends, and my family. They were hesitant at first, afraid of what I might do, but they saw the determination in my eyes, the fire in my soul. Together, we fought back against the voice, using every tool at our disposal. We meditated, we exercised, we talked. We even tried hypnosis and other alternative therapies. Slowly but surely, the voice began to lose its grip on me. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, like I was finally free. I started to see the world in a new light, to appreciate the beauty and wonder that surrounded me. I reconnected with my loved ones, apologized for what I had done, and tried to make amends. It wasn't easy, but I knew that it was worth it. I was finally breaking free from the darkness that had consumed me, from the voice that had controlled me for so long. The road ahead was long and difficult, but I knew that I was on the right path. I had found the strength within me to fight back against the voice, to reclaim control over my own mind and my own life. I knew that the voice would always be there, waiting for its next opportunity to take control. But I was determined to never let that happen, no matter how sad it now sounded, or how much it begged and pleaded. I had won the battle, but I was also aware that the war was far from over. But I was ready for the fight, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, and to continue down the path towards healing and recovery.